Well, this guy had the highest score in qualification, 45.3. 19-year-old Shaun White from Carlsbad, California, the only guy in this competition wearing a bandana.
You know, it's strange. I've always just kind of like had my eyes open to what was around me, you know, and things would just like come in and out of my life, and it was up to me to really dig deeper on those if it felt right, or just kind of, you know, pass and move on to the next thing. You just do what's hard until it's not hard anymore. Even when it came to snowboarding, there were certain things that were very difficult to get past, and I just remember doing it until it became easy. You know, it's like if you broke your hand and you weren't used to riding with that hand, and then you're forced to, you know, ride or to use chopsticks or to do something. Once you do it enough, it becomes, you know, a casual thing to do.
Snowboarder Shaun White, no longer king of the sport he made famous.
Things would just like come in and out of my life, and it was up to me to really dig deeper on those if it felt right, or just kind of, you know, pass and move on to the next thing.
Well, this guy, Shaun White, has been on the radar screen, everyone's radar screen, since he was 14 years of age. He's not only a snowboarding star, he's also a skateboarding star.
A perfect 100, the first time ever. Make his own fate. The judges give Shaun White that 93.
There it is, a 98. This distances himself from the field.
I wanted to do things, and that's where snowboarding came along, and it gave me that outlet. And you know, it was fun and it was cool in the beginning, and then my parents were like, oh, maybe he's pretty good at it. People around the mountain are telling them I was pretty good, and so they put me into a competition, and it was a race, and I won. You know, I was pretty fast, and so
this is like at 7.
Yeah,
right?
like 6, 7, and I'd skied at 4, if you call it skiing. I basically, like, I wasn't allowed poles because I would hit people. I was like really into the Ninja Turtles, and I was just like, I had moves, I thought I had moves, and so yeah, I ended up not allowed poles, and then I would just like go into the trees and they'd lose me, and they'd be all worried about where I was and what would happen, and so they're like, oh, we'll put him on a snowboard. He'll be falling, we'll keep track of him, it'll be great. And so obviously I figured it out pretty quickly. And then they put me in a competition at the local resort up at Snow Summit, and you know, I won, and that gave me this like, wow, I could win something, and then it gave me the, you know, the passion to work hard at something, to keep winning. You know, once you get that taste of victory, and you're like, wow, well maybe, I want to keep going on this path. I think that was where it stemmed from. And then the other huge component, which I'm sure if you read any other sports book or anything, it was I have an older brother, 7 years older than me. So a lot bigger, a lot stronger, a lot smarter, you know, and he was always beating me at everything I did. Everything. Monopoly, chess, like anything, the video games, snowboarding, like everything. He was just always winning, and I just couldn't beat him. And, you know, I just kept at it, and I finally, like, you know, crossed that barrier where I was actually learning the tricks he was learning at the time. But he's 7 years older, so, you know, in my age division, it was just, you know, no contest. And so that's what kind of stemmed that whole me turning pro at 13, because I was already ready for, you know, the next level. I was 15 years old, and I flew to Japan to do this big competition called the Toyota Big Air. And I remember getting there, I'm pretty sure the way it worked out is like the specific invited riders got a little bit of money to show up, and then obviously there's great prize money, and you had maybe 3 or 4 days of practice. And I was 15, so my mom's there, and I was paying out of my own travel to like get the flights, to get the food, to get the hotel, and all these things. I remember sitting there, and it's the game day, you know, we're supposed to hit the jump, and everyone's complaining, which is like music to my ears, because I'm having the best day ever. And you know, yeah, the guys had gone out, we're in Japan, there's a lot of fun things to do, and I was like in my room with my mom, like doing my algebra or whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, you guys go have fun, I'm gonna, you know, do my schoolwork. And so anyways, long story short, they all got together and were like, we're gonna split the prize money for the competition. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, like doing the quick math, I'm like, this doesn't even cover the flights out once you split it up among all the riders and whatnot. And And I said no. So at 15, I was like, no, I want to compete. And they just sat there and hazed me, and there was like this board of like all the riders' faces for who was at the competition, and they took turns like drawing dollar signs on my eyes and doing whatnot. And I just remember being like, I'm not gonna succumb to the like peer pressure of this. Like, I came here to compete, I'm feeling great, and I stuck to my, you know, gut feeling there, and I won. I won $50,000 in a car. But yeah, it was a time where I just kind of like stuck to it, and that was a big win for me. And that was kind of the first realization that I didn't have to follow the pack. I didn't have to do what everyone else said because it's what they want or what they should do or what is you're supposed to do. I just kind of felt like, you know what, this is a point where I should make a stand. I should really be me and own it, and I did, and I won. It was pretty wild. So, and I just stuck to it, and I remember just putting my headphones on and doing anything to distract myself because nothing's gonna slow down the clock on when we need to do the competition. But it was definitely like a defining moment for me to stand up for myself and what I wanted to accomplish.
What's the nature of competition for you? Like, what does competition mean?
It's a multiple of things. I mean, it's a chance to, I guess, go out and show, you know, the hard work that's been put in, and to kind of display it for everyone. Your chance to show off in a way, and in another way, it's a chance to access some deep part of yourself that is going to do something you never thought you could do or would want to do. You know, and I have trouble now that I'm gotten a little bit older. I've just turned 30, and you know, unfortunately, you think more. I feel like, you know, I'm like, it's pretty icy today. It's a little windy. I feel like tomorrow, and now I got the weather report. I'm like, it's gonna be better tomorrow. We should definitely come back tomorrow, you know, and like procrastinating. But like, you know, it's your chance to do something great, and I strive for those moments, and I wish I could recreate them in the normal life setting, because it changes from I want to do this new trick to I have to do this new trick, and it's the best because it takes that seed of doubt out of your mind. It's gonna happen, so what are you gonna do to best prepare yourself? And that's kind of that motivation of like getting to the contest and throwing the big tricks and seeing your competition and that motivation. And I've always loved that. I was at the X Games, and in my run, I broke an old record, and I went 24 feet out of the 22-foot half pipe. So I was up there, and it was funny because I wasn't going that big all day, but it was the contest time, and I was jacked up, and I dropped in and I hit that marker, and I recently broke that record at the US Open of snowboarding in Vail last season. I went 26 feet. It just kind of comes out of you, and you do better. So that's what competition is for me, for sure. Visualize, definitely. That's kind of the thing for me. It's always been like, well, what's it gonna look like, and what's it gonna feel like, and what am I gonna be wearing, and every little detail. And visualize yourself winning, you know, like, what are you gonna do after? You know, you just project it, and it happens. And I've always kind of like set goals for myself. That's a huge one. Set the goal of like, what do you really wanna do? Like, what is it in the end? For me, I would always set up like a fun goal and then like a serious goal. So one year, one of the goals was like, how many cars can I win? Because like the snowboard contest would give out cars if you won the series. So, you know, obviously, like, yeah, winning the series is amazing. You know, that's a feat of its own, but I broke it down to like, I just gotta win the cars. It made it into this stupid sort of game where it dumbed it down slightly, you know.
Does that help alleviate the pressure?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, obviously you have serious goals of like, I wanna win the Olympics, and then I wanna see how many cars I can win, you know, and it made it this fun thing of like, you know, taking a little bit of the edge off, because it's such a daunting task when you look at it from like, wow, I'm gonna try to win the Olympics. Like it's such a big thing, and then you really kind of break it down into these smaller things. It's more edible that way. And I don't know know if I knew what I was doing. I mean, now that I'm a bit older, I kind of see the I can break it down for what was happening, but it just felt like there was so much pressure. Like, man, like you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and it just felt like there was so much weight on it, and I would always kind of turn it to my favor. So any which way you spin it, I'm winning in a way. Like if you look at a competition like this last X Games I went to, like I didn't win, but I really feel like I won because I know exactly what I need to work on now. I know exactly what happened and I did wrong and I gotta go back, and that's why it's still winning to me. Where if I did win, I think about it like, wow, well, I'm exactly on the path I'm supposed to be going. The training and the ideas I've had before working, and this is where you go. So it's not like, even those slight step backs are actually, to leap forward in a way.
So when do you plan to be at the X Games?
As soon as possible.
I'm looking for this guy. This guy has world-class skater written all over him. Good luck, Shaun.
Looking to better the situation, and I've been to contests before where I really wanted to win and I put everything on the line for that event and I didn't win. And I went like, man, you put too much pressure on it. In business, you can fail here and there, and it's the same idea of like trying something over and over and just finally cracking the code on it. And then once you get that win, you get that experience and know that you can succeed, it's that like I said in competition, that seed of doubt goes away and you show up to win every time. That's the only option, and once that's the only option, it's even more obtainable. If I asked you to do a feat and you actually accomplished it, you have that knowledge now going back to do it again. Well, I've already, jumped over this, or I've already done this thing in business and it's old news, and you go in with even more confidence than you had that it took to win the first time. So, you have that in you, and projecting that positive thing always just leads to better outcomes either way, and even with pressure as well, when people say like, how do you deal with the pressure? And I'm just so thankful for the pressure, like they're like, everybody thinks you're gonna win the Olympics. And I go, well, if everybody thinks I'm gonna win, that's great. Like that's a lot of people believing in me, thinking that I can do it. Hey, maybe I just might be able to do it. If you, instead of letting it weigh me down, like, oh my God, all these people are expecting this from me, and I'm expecting this from myself, and it's just too much, I can't handle, like, no, it's such it's a blessing. It's a great thing to have people counting on you and needing that, and it's all kind of leading up to that sort of like, you can win, you felt it before, you know it's obtainable, everybody else believes in you, it's like your team rather than letting it weigh you down. So if you can kind of put that subtle spin on things and use it to your advantage, is always a better scenario, and I've let the pressure get to me before, and it just, well, that didn't work. Like, I was terrified this to happen, and and you learn from that and you go on. But yeah, there's always lessons to be learned. Even learning tricks, it's the basic thing. It's like a math problem. You're throwing solutions at it, and you finally, the numbers work and it clicks and it works out. Same with snowboarding and jumps and learning a new trick. You learn the very important lesson and simple lesson of what not to do. And hey, I tried this. You watch the video. I took off wrong. I'm going to try it again and again and again and again. And you get to a point where you get the confidence, you get the muscle memory, you get the ability to then do that trick. And now it's yours, and then you can do it at a competition when it really matters. The practice, like you said, it's something you kind of get over time. This year, I've decided to do every single competition that I can enter, just because I know that getting to that pressure scenario when I was younger, I didn't think as much. I would just throw my tricks and that was it. But nowadays I need that extra motivation, that coaxing into it. And to get rid of that seed of doubt, I show up at contests now. So it's kind of like knowing yourself as well, and knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, and kind of sticking to that. Like, what are you really good at and what are you not? And being real and honest with yourself about it. There's a difference between like working hard at something that you're not good at and forcing it. And that's kind of the inner question you have to ask. But I've always found that to be kind of a truth for me. How do I stay motivated? Man, it's a mixture of things. It's like, you know, there's always new goals, there's always new things to do. Obviously, you know, when it comes to snowboarding, going to an Olympics and not doing well, obviously at Sochi, not getting the gold and all that, like, man, extremely motivating, extremely eye-opening. I'd never gone to an Olympics and not won. That was the first time for me. I was like, wow, how do I feel about this? Well, what happens after? And it was amazing for me to realize that people were still like, oh, you're the champ, you're the guy, you know, and I don't know, for some reason, I just, like, in my mind, I just assumed that if you don't win, they immediately strip all the other medals and you're just some guy, or like the superpowers are gone and you're just like, I just remember feeling like this overwhelming, like, wow, I'm still alive, I'm still here. Like, the worst thing I could have imagined happened and I was still here. I was still considered, you know, the great in the sport. And it did a lot for me personally. I was like, wow, I can actually, like, I can lose. And I hadn't lost. I mean, this like reign of like me winning, it's been a long thing. And obviously that was just like one night, one contest, but the world was watching, so it was pretty rough to lose. But you realize that, yeah, it's just that one moment and you gotta get back up, and that's the true spirit of the sport, is to come back. You know, it's like the thrill of the fight to get there, and you become, you know, part of the US team, the Olympics and all that. And it's such an amazing and memorable thing, and then to actually go and compete. And I remember sitting there thinking, instead of like curling up and like, all right, maybe I should, you know, yeah, they're saying I'm getting older, maybe I should quit, or maybe I, you know, and I didn't want to quit. I was just like put in my head so many times by the media that I was like, you start hearing it so much, you kind of believe it. And I remember sitting there thinking, wow, like, well, I don't feel that way, and I'm not done, and I don't want to be done. And obviously there's other things in my life that were capturing my attention at that time, but I don't know, the thrill was still there, and I had newfound motivation from not winning. And I remember thinking, I'm gonna do more than I've ever done after an Olympics this time around. Because normally what happens is you get this kind of flood of like, hey, you know, this company wants to endorse you, you're the Olympic gold medalist and blah, blah, blah. And you totally deserve to do that. You won, and it's kind of like the quick money that comes your way, and before the world turns around, it's off to the next thing. And I wasn't getting those floods of offers. I was getting offers still, but it wasn't like the quick, you know, gold rush sort of scenario. And I was like, well, what do I want to do? What do I truly want to do? And since that Olympics, I mean, in business, man, I no longer ride for a mountain. I'm a part owner in a mountain resort, Big Bear Snow Summit and Mammoth Mountain. And yeah, I still compete, but I now own my own competition series, music festival series. I've changed my boys' clothing line to a men's clothing line because it fits my, you know, vibe of who I am today, not who I was before. And I always felt like snowboarding's been a part of it's not me, it's not my life. Like, it's what I do for fun, and it's what I do competitively, but it's not who I am.
Pretty much gotta have fun, really like skating, do it for you and only you, not just because it's like, oh, I gotta win this competition, I gotta do this, gotta do this. Just have fun with it and just practice a lot, you know. Try your hardest, it'll come.
This guy, Shaun White, has been on the radar screen, everyone's radar screen since he was 14 years of age. He's not only a snowboarding star, he's also a skateboarding star.
Impact, you know, like I touched on in the beginning, is that like, yeah, snowboarding is a part of my life, but it's definitely not my life and all that I am. And so I feel like my thing that I would leave is that I hope to be looked at as someone that really didn't, you know, see the boundaries of what you should and shouldn't do, that I just kind of, you know, I did the road less traveled, you know, I did the things that people said couldn't be done. It's kind of the goal for me.
It's a pretty damn good thing to leave behind.
So that's it.